Hello and welcome. This is Jeannette Koczela, founder and president of the International Association of Professional Life Coaches. And today you're here for a special training on how to give your clients a wow first impression. A lot of times we forget about the client onboarding process that needs to be in place to make it smooth for our clients, easy for us to implement, and also to give the clients an amazing or wow first impression of you and how professional you are and how amazing it's going to be to work with you. And this is also going to keep them excited after they've first purchased your program or service. They're probably not going to get buyer's remorse, and they're more likely to refer you to other potential clients. So let's get started with our presentation. Again, this is about client onboarding. This was the only slide I could find that really had anything to do with onboarding, but it also sort of depicts a really nice experience that you want your clients to have. Now, what is client onboarding and why is it important? Well, this is a process whereby you prepare a prospect to begin working with you and further developing a relationship with them. And you're preparing them on how to best use your product or service. And it's also their first introduction to the inner workings of your business after initial inquiries about your pricing and whether you're accepting clients or not. So generally, onboarding begins when they agree to become your client. But for those who take a bit longer to decide, it can also include follow-up where you're answering more questions and hopefully guiding them to make a decision on whether you're going to be a good fit for them or not. And some people say that onboarding continues until they no longer need your services. So preparing a thorough client onboarding system is going to save you time, money, and a bit of your sanity, because any system will resolve a problem. And in this case, the problem is getting all the client info you need, tracking all the paperwork, plus making them feel welcome. So you don't want to be always wondering if you sent out the most updated forms or not having a clear way of labeling and storing the return paperwork, because that's just going to distract you from other clients and your marketing tasks. So having all your documents written, proofread, edited, branded, and stored in one document folder on your computer with an easy labeling system is going to help you save time and really hours of searching for the right components. So of course the dream is to have multiple prospects making inquiries at all times. So it becomes even more imperative to be organized with an easy yet thorough system. And ultimately you want to make it as easy as possible for your prospect to sign up for your classes or coaching programs. And if you keep sending incomplete packets or the wrong or outdated forms, that leaves a negative impression, which may cause your prospect to find another coach. So let's be clear on what your onboarding process, what's going to differ with based on what product that your prospect wants to purchase. For clients who want onboarding coaching, want ongoing coaching, you're going to need a solid contract with a length of time and billing stipulations. And it's important to have all that ready before the first coaching call. Now, if they just want to purchase a book or an ebook, you're not going to need as much paperwork, of course. And then there are your long-term clients who may need something different as far as the onboarding process goes, because they've already gone through part of the process the first time. Now, the thing is, though, Happy customers will refer others to you, and they'll continue to buy from you. So that's the most important reason to create an onboarding system. So I hope I've convinced you of the importance of this. And now we're just going to go through some steps for creating an onboarding process. So first of all, you want to take stock of where you are. So how do you currently welcome a new client and get them set up in your coaching funnel? Do you just take their name and number? Do you have to play phone tag to set up a time to chat? Or do you have a process that answers questions? Do you have an assessment sheet, questionnaire? It's just important to know what you're starting with. Now, and that's why you just need to have a starting point. So before you start turning things upside down and trying to make changes to everything you're doing, look at each process. Or you can recruit a friend to go through the process for you and take note of how your current systems are working and what can be improved. And an objective analysis is really the only clear way that you can work towards full automation. Now, for example, at the most basic level, are you making your prospects jump through hoops trying to find a way to contact you or ask questions about your services? Are you getting timely email notifications from prospects? Do you have a dedicated phone line for business calls? Are you responding to inquiries in a timely fashion? And are you asking enough questions of your potential client to have a full understanding of what they want to accomplish through your coaching? You also will need your client's contact information and the best times to call them, and a contract for, as we said before, non-disclosure, billing details, length of the term, and any specifics of what the client wants to accomplish. So remember that the onboarding process also involves answering all of your clients' questions, including questions about your skill set, your experience, and your coaching process. So you need to be prepared for any kind of question. And it's really like a traditional job interview because you're really interviewing each other. I've always considered the sales conversation to be an interview. And their impression of you is going to determine whether or not they hire you. Now, also remember that the onboarding process is exactly that, a process that may take days or weeks to complete. So expect the process to take longer with your more expensive coaching packages or products, as people need more time after speaking with you, sometimes to decide if they want to invest in your offerings. Now, your goal with any onboarding process is to keep it simple yet thorough. You don't want to overwhelm your client or yourself with too much paperwork, but you also don't want to enter your first coaching call clueless about what this client wants to achieve. So you need to explore your current systems and make steps to improve or automate them. Now, here I want to pause because this is a little exercise that you can do, which is to write out your current onboarding process and what steps your client has to go through to become a client of yours. And you may just want to jot that down. And then what we're going to do is compare your flowchart or steps with this one. And we'll talk about these steps here. And you can just see what is missing that you may need to add to your process. So here we have the phone or video interview, a welcome package, sign the contract, answer any questions, schedule the first phone call. And of course, the whole thing usually starts with someone asking you questions also. Now, step 2 is that you need to think like a business. So, when was the last time that you saw a CEO of a business on the front lines, handling customer orders or complaints, or even working on the factory floor? Probably never, right? The CEOs rely on their lower level managers and executives to figure out how things get accomplished to move the company in that direction. So, for instance, Jeff Bezos doesn't process Amazon refunds. Bill Gates doesn't troubleshoot the blue screen of death for computer users. And Richard Branson isn't serving drinks on any Virgin Airlines plane. So, why exactly are you playing the Jane of all trades? Now, a common fear of all solopreneurs is spending money they don't have. And it stands to reason that you only want to spend money that you have in the bank rather than going into debt. And that may certainly be true with your personal finances. However, when you're talking about investing in your business, very often you need to invest that money up front before you make any real profit so that you can drive the company forward into the profit zone. Now, one thing that might be helpful is a virtual assistant. And they may be your best bet to making the client onboarding process smoother, because a virtual assistant can send out contracts and information to prospective clients, and they can follow up on missing forms or paperwork. They can manage your calendar appointments, and they can even answer the phone. And remember, the onboarding process is all about starting a relationship with your prospect. It's their first glance into the inner workings of your coaching business. And as with all first impressions, you want to wow them. So projecting a professional image is paramount to them signing on the dotted line and spending their hard-earned money with you. Now, you may want to put yourself in the prospect's position and think about who you would rather work with. A coach who is so involved in her business doing administrative tasks in addition to her coaching that she seems rushed or scattered, like this lady on the left, or a coach who can focus her efforts on her clients and is always willing to expand her knowledge base because she has an assistant, like this lady on the right. So another action step that you can take is to identify the tasks that you should not be doing and make a plan to replace yourself. Now, how do you determine that? Well, any jobs that you should not be doing are jobs that, number one, are not income producing, but number two, can be done by someone else and don't have to be done by you. Now, I have some examples here of different kinds of tasks that you can delegate. And this, of course, is not a complete list, but it does go over quite a few things here. And we have different categories too. We've got administrative tasks, marketing tasks, bookkeeping tasks, writing tasks, branding and graphics, and the website itself. So these are all areas that you should look into and see what tasks can you delegate to someone else. Now, step 3 in this process is finding the holes. And if you're like most clients, there are trouble spots in your current systems. And there's no shame in that unless you pretend that they don't exist. So let's face it, who has the perfect system without flaws? Who isn't willing to find ways to tweak what works to make it better? Unlike the old adage, don't fix what ain't broke, you'll find that there's always a way to improve or automate your current onboarding system. So step 1 was all about taking stock of your current systems and testing them to see how easily they work. What did your testing say about your current systems? Now, I know that you're going to have to do that after this webinar, but you want to write down, what you found out when you did that testing. So now we're going to find some common holes and some ways to fix them so that your process is smooth. And we know that a smooth process makes for happier clients. So let's go over some common problems that a lot of onboarding processes have and how we can fix them. So the first one is communication. So do you send a personalized welcome email, or is it a generic template? Do you limit the ways your clients can communicate with you? Your prospects don't want to feel like a number, and they don't want to feel as though you really care about them and want to know them better, but then once you get them as a client, you sort of drop the ball. So personalizing a welcome email and the subject line is one of the easiest ways to portray your interest in them. So even if you're not a great writer, certainly you can craft a couple of short paragraphs from the heart to serve as an introduction before delving into the nitty-gritty business part of the letter. And you can sort of combine that. You can have a template that goes over the main points that you want your clients to know, that's for everybody. But it's kind of nice to just start out with a personalized paragraph relating back to something that you both talked about during your sales conversation. And it just makes it sound more personal and makes them feel more important. And really, that's the bottom line here, is that we want to make our clients feel important. According to research, that's one of the most important things that any person wants, is they want to feel important. So we have a great opportunity to do that. A second area that can be a problem is unrealistic expectations. So a lack of communication or not asking the right questions can lead you and your prospect to expecting different things from the relationship. And you may not fully understand their ultimate goal, or in an effort to win their business, you overpromise what you can actually deliver, and thus leading to a disappointed client who feels ripped off. So as a part of the initial onboarding process, you can send them a questionnaire, including questions about what they need help with and what they ultimately expect as a result of their coaching sessions. And if you can realistically deliver all that they expect, move forward. If not, be honest and upfront with them and tell them about your limitations and don't sign them up. Because the thing is, your honesty and integrity will speak volumes, as opposed to a bad reputation that you'll receive if you pretend you can help them when you really can't. And I've had that happen to me, where I've had clients who I just said, for what you want, I can't really help you. And they've been very grateful for that, and they've actually sent me clients who they thought I could help. So it always comes back to you. Best to just be honest and with complete integrity. Now, the third problem that we face is customer abandonment. And so I alluded to this a little earlier, in an effort to win new customers, some coaches enter into a wooing phase where they drop everything to care for the prospect's needs. But once the contract is signed, that special care disappears. Or there will still be a honeymoon phase early on, but then things start to fall through the cracks, or the calls aren't answered quite so quickly. So you don't want to let this happen. You want to schedule follow-up calls with your client at regular intervals so no one feels lost or forgotten, even after their coaching package ends. And in addition to being a nice gesture, these calls, or it could be emails, is going to keep your name in their minds, and you won't have to sell quite so hard to them if you have future products or offers that would benefit them. So The next action step to take is to review your emails, help desk if you have one, social channels and phone logs for trouble spots and reoccurring issues that you can deal with and change so that you make that process smoother for both you and your prospective client. Now, I have a template for this, which has questions on it that you can ask about your customer service. And that's part of the planner that I promised that you would get when you attend this training. And so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, step 4 is to invest in solid systems. Nothing makes automation more difficult than piecing together subpar systems. If you're still handling customer service with a Gmail address and relying on back and forth email to schedule appointments, or keeping client notes in a Word doc on your desktop, it's time for an upgrade. And systems are nothing more than routines that address specific problems or business issues. And sometimes the term workflow is also used to describe a system. And it's easy to picture a flowchart of what has to happen first before another task can start. So let's look at 5 systems that will smooth the onboarding process. So we'll start from the very beginning with an email system. And that's where a client calls or emails to ask if you're accepting new clients or about your pricing. And first of all, do you have a dedicated business email that has your website's name included? If you want to look professional, you have to drop the freebie Gmail or Yahoo email accounts and invest in an email that includes your website domain name. Just going to make you look a lot more professional. And it also looks like you're going to be in business for a while and not just some fly-by-night thing. Now, what happens after you receive that email? Well, you want to set up email notifications for your virtual assistant so she can send out a response to that inquiry quickly. And within 24 hours is ideal. And of course, if you don't have an assistant yet, you will have to do that yourself. Now, as for the response, you want to create a response template, which you or your assistant can then personalize, as I talked before sending it out. And make sure that the subject line is personalized too. So, like you can include their first name or whatever. And then also include a thank you for inquiring. And you want to answer the specific details of their inquiry. Now, pricing system. Pricing is a common question. So you want to, this depends. I usually don't tell people pricing, and I just tell them that I need to know more about what they need before I can recommend something. Most coaches would have more than one program or more than one way to deliver their service. And so you really need to have a conversation with these people before you give them any pricing. And so that means that really it's recommended that you don't put prices on your website either. And I see a lot of coaches do, and that's perfectly fine. There's just different opinions about it. So you just have to decide what's best for you. And you may want to just test it, have it on your site for a while and see if you get less inquiries. I think that's one reason why people don't put pricing on their site, is because then people have to contact you. And then once you have this inquiry, you have a better chance of following up with them, rather than having someone just come to your site, see the prices, decide it's not for them and leave. And maybe they would have been a good prospect for you, but they made a decision without really knowing what the value of your program was. So that's the other thing, is that in your sales conversation, you get to convey the value of your program before you give them the pricing, and then it just makes more sense. So that's, but the thing about pricing is that you do want to have a set fee for your services. And then you don't have to, think about it. Now, the next system is the productivity system. And if you really want to maximize your productivity, you should invest in a platform that handles multiple tasks, so you're not opening multiple windows and trying to coordinate information between multiple sites. Now, an example of that is called 17 Hats. And I'm just starting to use this platform. It allows you to read and answer emails, create templates and workflow systems. You can create to-do lists, invoices, and you can organize your leads list for easy follow-up. There's also a calendar where you can schedule events, and you can also schedule your coaching sessions on there. And all of these features then allows you to handle multiple tasks inside one system without jumping from email to invoicing to project management system. And with hundreds of similar systems on the market, you may need to do some research or have your virtual assistant do it, and choose one that fits your budget and handles multiple needs. And then the appointment system is really key to onboarding and keeping your clients happy, because it has the ability for them to easily book their own appointments online. And excuse me, if you put yourself in their shoes and think about how many times you've thought of making an appointment as you're going to bed, but it's too late to call at that hour. And this way, your clients can simply open up an app and schedule their next coaching call whenever they think of it. Now, again, there are hundreds of apps and platforms to handle this. So you need to do some research on that. But a program that allows you to input your available hours and immediately allows a prospect to choose a time that suits them is the best kind. Personally, I use Time Trade. I started using it because I was so tired of back and forth emails. And sometimes the emails would get lost or I wouldn't see their answer. And you don't also have to double check your time zones. It's all done for you. So it's just a lot easier to have an appointment system in place. And then we have a client profiles system. Now this is one other system that's vital for easy onboarding. And this is like having forms or questionnaires that are easy for them to fill out. Now, if you have a multiple task system, there's usually a way to create a simple client profile which the client can fill out, and then it automatically loads into your database. And in addition to the typical name, phone number, many coaches ask for things like addresses and even birthdays or anniversaries. And while this may seem strange at first, especially if your clients are virtual, having some of that personal information allows you to send them special gifts to commemorate those important dates. And likewise, you want to stay in tune with events or milestones of your coach clients on social media. So if you see that someone had a baby or graduated from college, you can send them a congratulatory email or gift or whatever is appropriate. Now, while this is completely optional, caring enough about your client to send them a birthday gift or some other celebratory gift, puts you way above and beyond the cookie cutter coach. So this next action step is to just make and prioritize a systems list, like the one that we went over, that you can use to make that process again smoother and easier for your clients. Now, these are the first 4 steps of this client onboarding planner that I have. And there's 4 more steps. And there's also some materials such as you see here that you can print out and fill in that are just going to help you go through this process. And I think it's a great planner to use. I think it's something that's very important to have in place when you're, especially when you're first starting out, to get clients and to give them a good experience. And so I'm giving this away for free. So you just need to go to this website, which is the association website, iaplifecoaches.org/tools, TOOLS. And you can download this planner. It will come to you in an email, and just use that to onboard your clients. This is just a gift from the International Association of Professional Life Coaches to another way to help coaches with their marketing. We are an organization that is for professional life coaches, and it's an organization you can belong to as a professional life coach, but we also provide business training, because most coaches know how to coach, but they don't necessarily know how to market themselves. So this will get you started. And if you sign up for that, you'll be on my special list. And I have a series of emails that one goes out once a week that will give you another tool or tip, resource, or video about topics that relate to marketing your business online. So let me just pause here and see if anyone has any questions. And if you do, you can type it into the chat. You can also tell me if this was helpful for you today. I like to keep these trainings short so that you just have just enough information, and if you want more, then you can get it with this planner. Okay, well, all right. Donna Leah says, thanks very much. Some of it will be very useful as I set up my website and move forward. Great. I'm glad this will be helpful for you. And I will have this on as a replay for people who couldn't make it today. And enjoy, and hope this will be helpful to help give your clients a wow first impression. Thanks for joining me.